Do you believe in UFOs? In the past, if you said yes, some people would look at you with a crazy expression.
10 moments ago, up on the Hill, the Senate Armed Services Committee held a hearing with the Pentagon director who oversees reports on UFO sightings.
Almost like you're crazy, but now we have world governments confirming it.
The U.S. Navy has finally acknowledged that videos appearing to show UFOs flying through the air are real. They don't call them UFOs, they call them unidentified aerial phenomena.
Maybe the conspiracy theories and UFO enthusiasts were onto something. Now with all the UFO information dumped at us, we have all this new information to look first. There is still one case I would like to share. Recording multiple UFOs in space, interacting with broken Tether satellite systems NASA created, going way back to 1986, where one space mission might have had direct contact with a UFO. February 22nd, 1996, today was the launch date for Space Shuttle Columbia, its mission TSS-1R, and USMP-3 were the missions that were taken on February 22nd. USMP-3 was carrying out a bunch of experiments, but TSS-1R is the one we'll be covering, and the one that was followed up from the failed TSS-1 experiment. TSS-1, or the Tether Satellite System 1, is a tether satellite that was going to be deployed in space when STS-46 launched on July 26th of 1992. The Tether Satellite System, a group of items, a conductor tether, a satellite, and a system that would allow the tether to be deployed or retrieved, all of it was bundled up in one space shuttle. The plan was to deploy the tether once in space and drag it across Earth's magnetic field, hopefully being able to conduct electricity. This electricity could then be used to run the equipment on the space shuttle, helping NASA conduct more missions in space while being cost effective.
Well, that's pretty neat. I mean, NASA uses electromagnets and this track to help them develop new ways to propel a spacecraft into orbit. And you know what? NASA's also using electricity, magnetism, and tethers to help them propel spacecraft already in orbit.
Wait, you said tethers, like tetherball, with the pole and the rope attached to the ball?
Absolutely. Some other examples of tethers besides tetherball are the elastic string that keeps a paddleball on a paddle, a fishing line that keeps the fish on a pole, and even a leash that keeps a dog close to its owner.
Maybe you can think of some more examples. You know, NASA has been using tethers and conducting experiments in space for years.
Say goodbye for her. She's gonna get burned.
You're right. In fact, in the 1960s, the Gemini astronauts used tethers to connect their spacecraft to another unoccupied rocket.
One person who knows all about tethers in space is physicist Les Johnson, and he works at NASA Marshall Space Flight Center.
Thanks, Van. We're testing a new kind of propulsion system for space that doesn't need any rocket engines or fuel. Instead, it'll use the Earth's magnetic field to help push or pull on the spacecraft.
All magnetic objects form invisible lines of force that extend between the poles of the object. A magnetic field is the space around a magnet where you feel its force. Magnetic field lines extend and radiate between the Earth's north and south poles and between the poles of the magnet.
Basically, the Earth's magnetic field works with a special type of wire or conductor called an electrodynamic tether to push or pull on the object. The electrons that make up the electric current flowing through the conductor will experience a force when they move through a magnetic field like the Earth's. Since they're trapped in the conducting wire tether, the force will be applied to the tether and whatever is attached to it. Depending upon the direction in which the current is flowing, this force can be a push or a pull, either lowering or raising a spacecraft's orbit.
So the direction of the current determines whether it's pushing or pulling.
And the more current, the more force.
In the mission, the space shuttle team tried to release the tether, but an issue came up. The tether got stuck on a bolt during its release. It was stuck and there was no way to fix it in space. They had to return the shuttle back home and fix the tether. And now, here we are. Almost 4 years later, NASA tries again, and with this new attempt in the mission, TSS-1R. This time, the satellite contained cold gas nitrogen thrusters used for deployment, retrieval, and altitude control. $154 million was invested in this new solution, and this isn't adding the cost into the failed tether experiment. This is just the new experiment alone. This was a huge risk, but a risk that seemed worth taking. Launch was successful and normal as expected. Everything was going good. It reached the point of the mission where they were going to deploy the new tether satellite. The entire tether was 20.7 kilometers, or almost 13 miles long. They were slowly deploying the entire tether, and the new system was working. In a 5-hour period, they deployed 12 out of the 13 miles of tether successfully. This is when everything went downhill. Almost across the finish line, with less than half a mile left of the tether to be deployed.
The tether has broken at the boom. The tether has broken. It is going away from us. Get it on the TV, Claude. Please get it on the TV. The tether has broken.
Copy.
It broke. A loud boom, and the tether breaks. Now floating away from the shuttle in fast speeds, sometimes around 30 miles per hour. And it's continuing to fly for some 3,000 miles. $154 million lost. Here's where things get weird.
They reported first seeing the satellite when it was about 100 satellite. Again, just moving into sunrise. 81 nautical miles now from Columbia.
Well, the long line is a tether, and there's a little bit of debris that kind of flies with us, and it's illuminated by the sun at such low angle. So there's a lot of stray light, and it's getting washed out quickly. But Claude is trying to do a quick, good job here adjusting the cameras.
100 nautical miles.
Charlie, completely unzoomed, and you see the full extent of the tether.
The broken tether, is being tracked and being watched from the NSA. At one time, one of the astronauts, Franklin Chang Diaz, tried to make sense of it, saying that a little bit of debris that kind of flies with us. The debris is illuminated by the sun. This was Franklin trying to make sense of what he was seeing. NASA's explanation was that these objects are floating around and they consist of ice particles and space debris. They say it's debris, but the movement of these white circular objects are irregular. It doesn't have the same flow pattern as debris, sometimes stopping entirely and switching directions. This is what some people claim to be UFOs. The debris is a white circular object with a hole inside it. Sometimes the circle isn't complete, and there's a hole that opens the circle. The pulsating light emitting from the whole body when it goes closer to the rods. Remember, the tether is about 13 miles long, so these circles relative to the tether is huge. Even though the tether is still broken, NASA is able to use the broken tether and analyze the data so that it's not a complete loss. But this experiment is still considered a massive failure due to the price attached to the project and how the mission ended. With the tether broken during the deployment, they salvage what they can and return the space shuttle home. In my opinion, I've never seen debris or ice particles stop and shift in directions on Earth, let alone in space. Also, the shape of the debris doesn't make sense. What piece of equipment is shaped like these things? And how can the tether break and create debris that are all structurally the same? Think of a broken piece of wood. When it breaks into pieces, it breaks into all kinds of different shapes. The chance of these pieces breaking off in perfectly symmetrical shapes is low. Another claim is how the sun rays actually causing the debris to light up and look like it's pulsating. Same logic can be applied to the broken tether and the broken tether equipment. If it's all made from the same material, the tether should also be pulsating. Also, since we share the same sun, and the tether's in the same direction as the debris, the light should have reflected similarly to it. Now the tether is bright, just like the debris, but it doesn't pulsate, which could mean that the pulsating isn't caused by the sun, but something else in the debris. This, along with the fact that NASA originally lost this footage, and they haven't recreated this experiment again, leads me to believe that this isn't some sort of debris, but some sort of UFO contact, scanning the tether and analyzing it. Although we have a video, we may never know what is the true purpose of this debris.